Love and immunity, love and immunity, love and immunity, beloveds. God asked me to come back on here to share this beautiful testament. I am. So many of us know that life is an intelligence, and many of us don't know that life is an intelligence. Many people who know me, who truly know me, they don't know my flaws. They don't know the worldly beliefs of what life is, or a person is, or a race or a sex is. A person who knows me in the very essence of life itself, which is my soul. Why we were connected, why we were brought together, why life chose us for such a time as that to join one in whatever reason, for whatever understanding that life needed to use us as conduits of life to ensure that life would go forward in its own understanding. And life asked me to come back on here, or God asked me to come back on here because one thing we need to understand is that as a internal being, one thing about me is that I don't make I don't choose what I'm going to do. I don't choose what I'm going to do. There have been many times in my life where um, God has put me before people that I didn't choose. I did not choose them. It's been times in my life where God has presented people to me. He brought them to me. I didn't find them. They found me. And for such a time as that, for whatever reason, God needed to use us both as conduits to life. A lot of us don't understand that we are a leverage to life. We are life's leverage. We are nothing but conduits, vehicles, vessels. Ask and it shall be given. And each one of us, our heart is a desire, which we don't understand. Like, because I'm a healer, God is going to use my heart as a resonance to draw me onto people who need healing or who have asked for healing. We're nothing but conduits, beloveds. We're leveraged by life. Many people conform their leverage by the conformities knowledge and the conformities belief system. But as you and I are every day, we are conduits. We are leveraged by life. Our heart, guard your heart through the wellspring of life flow. Our heart is a resonance. And just like I said, an eye for an eye, based on your understanding. Being that I am internal, I am not the eye. I am the conduit. I will be the one who will be leveraged for life. And people in the world, they are leveraged for the world. Two different constellations, beloveds, two different trinities, two different knowledges. So being that I am an internal being, life brought me back on here to express this. I don't make a choice in life. No choice that I make in life has anything to do with me. It has to do with God. It has to do with the conduit that I am. See, about me, I know that I am a soul. I know that everything is taking place inside of me. For instance, I want to use this as an example. And you take it the way you want to take it. I'm going to take it the way God brought it onto me. A couple of years ago, this pimp came into my life, met me, came to me. It's crazy. It's just so crazy because when I met this person, I knew it. God told me who this person was. God told me exactly, and this is every relationship I've ever had in my life. I don't go to people. People come to me. If I'm in your life, this is always going to be me. If I am in your life, you are going to come to me. I'm never going to go to other people. That's how I've always been because I am a conduit. I'm internal, which means that God is going to use my frequency and my vibration to feed the soul. To feed the soul. I'm not feeding anything of the world. I don't have no understanding of that world. And by the conscious choice that I am, this is, I am, sit me. We have to remember that our innermost kingdom is intelligence. We are God's image and God's likeness. But many people are not. They are doctrinated understandings. They're conformed, which means that their understanding now is a conduit or a leverage for making the world the matrix. That's what they're used for. They're used for the matrix. But God still uses your soul, because every last one of us is a conduit for life. God uses your soul even to make that matrix. And a lot of people don't understand that the matrix are the world that God told us, what is a man profit if he gains the whole world, which is the matrix, but loses his soul, which means you're going to lose your knowledge. You're going to lose your ability to be a conduit for life, to be a resonance and a frequency for life. See, one thing about me is that God brings people onto me. Maybe that person's needed some healing. So God led me, or God led a pimp to me. Okay, let me tell you this. Am I ashamed of this? No, beloveds. Let me tell you what happened in my life by that circumstance. Okay, see, me, I was broken. Broken. Let me tell you, I was so broken. I was broken as a kid by the men figures in my life. I was broken by all the men figures in my life. So what God needed was a strong man. God needed a strong man to come into my life to bring that part of me back into me, because it never was given on to me. It was robbed from me. That part of me, my innocence, my ability to grow and nourish that part of me, it was stolen. Like the thieves who come to kill, steal, and destroy. Many of y'all don't know that your souls have been stolen by the thieves who come to kill, steal, and destroy. Well, that was what happened to my innermost feminine part of me, the part of me that that brings the nurturing part of me, and the higher part of me out. See, I've always been that higher part of me, but I've been the masculine. I've been the real masculine me. That's why people say I'm tactless. That's why people say I'm mean, because I carried the masculine gene or the masculine energy, because I was always in protection mode. I was always having to guard myself. So it made me pick up more on my masculine side. So yeah, I'm a little stronger. I was told one time, because I carried more muscles in my body than I carried the feminine part of me. I've had men tell me that they would never want to fight me because of who I am, and it was just because I was robbed. The part of me, my feminine part of me, it was stolen by all the men figures in my life as a kid. My grandfather was never available to me. My dad, things happened with my dad, my stepdad. There were no men figure in my life that taught me how to be that feminine part of myself. That part of me was denied. It was rejected. It was stolen. But being that I am an internal being, God knows my heart. God knows all of our hearts. God uses us as conduits. So God used this man as a conduit, because at that time in my life, I was rising in my knowledge. I was rising in my knowledge. And when I rise in my knowledge, I got to get somebody who's on my level. You see, me, I'm a beast. See, a lot of people don't understand this. I am a beast. I call those things to be in which they are, and they must be. I am a beast. And not a bad beast. Not the one that God is saying is walking the fabric of this earth. I'm a beast inside of this kingdom. This, my spirit, that's all I've ever known. That's all I've ever been able to cry out to. That's all I've ever been able to depend on. That's all I've ever had there for me. The physical part of me is always been rejected. That part that's worldly has always been denied from me, or stolen from me, or rejected from me, or abused in me. So I'm a beast when it comes to the internal kingdom, when it comes to the spiritual realm, when it comes to the root nature of my existence. I'm a beast. I'm untouchable. I'm unstoppable. I'm undeniable. I will conquer anything that I put myself out to do. If you understand, I am. Remember, I am an intelligence. If God ordains it. I don't make moves without that law. Many times in my life, people have come to me that I knew based on my worldly perceptions, based on my worldly conformity, beliefs. Oh, he's a pimp and all this and this. No, 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 no. But God said, no, sweetheart. God told me who this man was. I knew who he was before he introduced himself to me in his own knowledge. Many of the people in the Bible, killers, thieves, treacherous people. Treacherous people. Do you understand me? Right now, you got a whole world of treachery. People, thieves, who come to kill, steal, and destroy life in its own entirety, beloveds. So this is why you can't judge a book by its cover. Because our worldly understanding is just beliefs. But God only knows our heart. Man only knows the appearance. But God only knows our hearts. Okay? I'm an intelligence. I'm not a belief. You ain't gonna ever be able to accept me in a transformed and a renewed mind under a belief, under a conformed mind, under a doctrinated conformity. Because I'm an intelligence. Tell them I am. Life is an intelligence. Life don't know our appearance. Life don't know us as a race, a sex, or a nationality, or a culture. Life knows us as a soul, which is as an intelligence. So God brought this man into my life at a time in my life where my consciousness was rising. This is when I first started coming out of the mortal kingdom. This was my very beginning of my walk, coming out of the mortal kingdom. But in order for me to come out of that mortal kingdom, I had to grow. I needed to grow in that area of my life because that's where I was denied my growth. I was denied my maturity. Because the men in my life did not teach me how to mature in that area. They robbed that part of me from me. They took it. So inside of me, I was this little girl, this afraid little girl, afraid of sex, afraid of relationships, afraid of commitment, afraid of connection. Just afraid. Because the men in my life up until that point, they were not giving me what I needed in maturity. They were feeding off of my soul. They were feeding off of what was done to me as a kid. So just like I said, immunity feeds immunity. So I was being fed by the same abuse that was living inside of me in my DNA. That abuse, I was being fed by the same immunity. So at that time, I was rising. God had chosen me at that time. I told you when the COVID came, this is when life returned back into me. The day the COVID hit, beloveds, God returned back into me. My soul awakened in me. And at that time in my life, God needed me to grow in that area that I wasn't nurtured. Well, this pimp, who I'm not ashamed of, who nobody can, you can judge. That's all worldly. That's all worldly. I'm a cell. I'm an intelligence. I'm a genetic makeup. And that's what makes me who I am. What makes you who you are, that belongs to you. Those are your beliefs, those are your structures, those are your identities, and that's your conformity. But I know who I am. I am. I'm on a whole different constellation than a conformed mind. And God is asking me to express this in an understanding, to understand I am. The I am presence. The I am presence is an intelligence. And it knows our soul. And it knew at that time that that man needed me for something. And I needed him for something. We were both equally yoked. He was equally yoked in as far as maturing a woman. See, pimps know how to mature a woman. They have been given that gift. Is that a curse or is that a blessing? It's how we see it. See, how we see life can be a curse and a blessing. At that time in my life, because I was going through my awakening. Oh, beloveds, I was going through my awakening. And at that time, my inner child, she was waking up. And she had nobody to mature her at that time. But God brought that man to me. I didn't find him. He found me. And the crazy part is that when I met him, I was like, you know what? I wouldn't have messed with him. God told me who he was. And I knew who he was. And I asked him, I said, I told him, I said, God just told me who you are. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you so much. I said, God just told me who you are. And he admitted to it. He didn't lie to me. He admitted it. This is how I know I am. God does not bring us before any person, place, or thing without a reason. There are no coincidences in life, beloveds. So let me tell you about this situation that I went through at this time. I was needing some maturity. Number one, I was dealing with somebody in my life who was breaking me down. This person that I was dealing with at this time was breaking me down to the point where I might not have been able to get back up. Spiritually, in my heart, this man that I was dealing with at this time, he was about to destroy me. And please forgive me if I get a little teary-eyed and I might get a little whatever, because I'm remembering what I had to go through at that time. He was about to break me. So God presented that man to me. Why did he present that man to me? Because he knew that man's spirit, I needed that power that he was capable of bringing out in me. I needed that little girl awakened. I needed her awakened. See, she's been hidden, scared of men, scared of life, scared of commitment, scared of relationships, scared of anything that has to do with the masculine part of her being. She's more masculine than she's feminine. But I'm afraid of that part of me, because that part of me, we have to understand that we are all one. I carry masculinity and femininity, just like a man does, beloveds. We are all equally yoked. You have a right brain and a left brain, feminine and masculine, beloveds, which are one. This is why you see the gene, the chromosome split itself. It's still one, but it split itself. So anyways, this man comes into my life and gets to know me, literally gets to know me. It didn't have nothing to do with no whoring or none of this. This man got to know me. I got to know this man. Powerful. Let me tell you, this man is so powerful in his knowledge when it has to do with women. What he did, or what he's doing, or what he was doing before me, that was a whole different story. It had nothing to do with me. When I met this man, that was in the past. You see, what happens today is what happens today. What happened yesterday is in the past. It don't have shit to do with me no more. unless I stand in that presence, unless I take myself back to that immunity. Then it does. Like right now, I'm having to take myself back to that immunity so that I can share that part, that memory, that part of me that brought me into this understanding I am. And it was truly that pimp, that man who used to be an ex-pimp, who brought me into this I am part of me. He brought that part of me in which no man in my life was capable of doing because of the immunity I carried during the time when the men were in my life. Broken immunity. Broken immunity probably from my own genetic makeup at the time, from my mother, from my environmental immunity at the time. Just broken. So I was bringing in broken men. From what happened to me as a child, I was broken. So I brought in broken men. Men who can confirm my brokenness. Because they were carrying that same brokenness. Maybe their mother carried that same DNA. And it drew them to me because we carried the same immunity. Birds of a feather, they flock together, beloveds. You ain't gonna find no better person in your life until you rise up out of that immunity. You're gonna keep drawing in the same type of immunity, beloveds. Well, at this time, I was maturing. God had to mature me at this time because I was about to be destroyed. And one thing that I am is I am a child of the Most High. And God said, no, this one, she belongs to me. She belongs to me. That's one thing that I've always known since I was a kid. I can go lay in the heavenly places when I need safety, when I need security, when I need love, and when I need immunity and healing. I just go to the heavenly places, beloveds, and it's automatic. I am. I am. I know who brought me here. Life brought me here. Conformity didn't bring me here. Beliefs didn't bring me here. Culture didn't bring me here. Race didn't bring me here. Doctrine didn't bring me here. Black understanding didn't bring me here. Life brought me here in this image and this likeliness. So this man built me. Like, this man literally built me up at this time. How I walked into who I am today was through that man. God brought that man into my life. I didn't seek him. I wasn't praying for him either. We had an exchange. There was an equally yoked exchange that God knew he can give me and I can give him. And it was beautiful. It was very beautiful at the time until it was time for us to go our separate ways because we were no longer needed for what the purpose or the conduit that God used us both for for such a time as that. That was just for such a time as that God used us as a conduit for healing and for maturity. And when it was time for that situation to move on, because God was taking me to my next constellation, which was into the immortal kingdom, I was outside of that kingdom. Then God brought me into another immunity where I met another person in my life that could build me in the maturity of me being the woman who I matured into. He can only mature me into that woman, but God needed somebody who outside of his level. His level was to just bring me into my womanhood, to bring me into my maturity. See, pimps know how to mature a woman. That's their job. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? It's not. For me, it was a blessing. It was a blessing. And because he was a blessing to me, I could be a blessing to him. Nothing bad came out of it. As a matter of fact, the world or the conformed mind or the belief made up mind that just thinks outwardly in appearance, they would have saw me as something less than. But my God, remember, God knows my heart. Guard your heart to the well springs of life. God knew that my wellspring could only be nourished by his wellspring. And that's what he did to me at that time in my life. He got me to the next level to where I was mature. That little girl in me, that little scared little girl, he brought her all the way out. He didn't whore me. He didn't pimp me. He treated me. He treated me like a woman. He brought that woman out of me. This was what pimps do to girls. It's a bad thing because of we get pimped all the time, beloved. Schools pimp children. Sports people pimp people. Everybody is being pimped. This is what being conformed is. Conformity is pimping our soul. So he wasn't doing nothing that no other person in that world ain't doing every day to everybody. Everybody is being pimped in the conformed mind, beloveds. So what is good and what is bad? See, this is one thing about I am. I am is just an intelligence. It don't see on the level of beliefs. It sees on the level of our heart, of our wellspring. Now, if I can use this pimp, I'm going to use this pimp. If I can use this healer, I'm going to use this healer. If I can use this thief, I'm going to use this thief. However God got to use you as a conduit, he's going to use you. As I told you, an eye for an eye. Come on, beloveds. It's an eye for an eye. Whatever I need in my life to mature me, and God knows this because I am his soul, he's going to have to bring another soul into my life that's going to have to be on that level to get me there. He ain't going to be able to use somebody who don't have that characteristic or that soul's journey already mastered. He's going to have to use a master to master me, to get me where I need to go to be in my own mastery. Well, that man was the master. At that time of my life, he was helping me understand my mastery of coming into that goddess part of me, the goddess. He brought her. He matured that little girl in me. I'm 40 something years old, still in this little girl, scared of commitment, relationships, men, sex, the femininity, that feminine part of me, scared to bring her to the light. And she needed to come out. She was me. She deserved to come out, and it was time. I could not hide her anymore. I could not deny her anymore. So God had to bring me to this man who he's mastery in bringing that out in a woman. He brought that part of me. He brought my sexuality out, which was hidden, and he didn't have to touch me sexually. He had the spirit. He had that power inside of him that commanded. He made that little girl stand up. No. To tell you the truth, he was like a father figure to me at that time. He wasn't sexual like many people think. Pimps they use the person. They just use the person. They're not sexual with that person. See, we just see beliefs. Man sees appearance, but God only knows the heart. I know why that person became who they are. I know exactly what kind of conduit I'm going to use that person for. And he was a conduit to bring that little inner child in me, bring her out. It's time for her to step into her goddess, into her real immunity. And after God was done using that conduit, he brought me to the next one. The next conduit, which the world would be based on beliefs, based on doctrine, not based on appearance, not based on our soul, and that we are only conduits. I'm just intelligence, beloveds. You can call me whatever you want to call me in the world and under the worldly beliefs, but in me, I am an intelligence, and I'm going to use my conduit, my image and my likeness, however I choose to use it. And that's just how I work. Tell them I am. I used Moses to destroy Pharaoh. Come on, I'm going to use whoever I choose because I am the intelligence. And they are going to be used the way I command them. I am the soul. I am the knowledge. I am the wellspring. So I went on my next journey in the mortal kingdom where this other person that I met, very mature in the world, This is where I didn't have an understanding. This is where I didn't have an understanding. I didn't have no understanding about the world, because the world, since I was a kid, because I was different, because I was internal, rejected me, abused me, hated me, judged me, cursed me, tried to kill, steal, and destroy me. So God brought me into this protector. This man was a protector who had the knowledge of the world. This was my next constellation. This is where I had to mature in this constellation. And he used that Pacific conduit, that soul. He couldn't have used no other soul. He wouldn't have used no other soul, because even that person that I met at that time, I couldn't stand him, because he had the worldly appearance. He had that worldly appearance, in my soul. My soul, it doesn't like that. But God said, no, I don't care what you don't like. I am. I don't care what you don't like. I don't care what you feel. I don't care what you think. I am. I don't care what the world thinks. I don't care what the world likes. I don't care what the world believes. I am. So God made me. God made me. I didn't have a choice. It's like, you don't understand that you don't have a choice. People don't have a choice when they get on drugs. They get on the drugs. Get on drugs because that is the conduit that their soul is needing in order to ensure they don't die at that time. You've got to remember, humans are always in fight and flight mode. So what do you think is protecting them? It's the conduits that's coming to them. That modality that might come to them may be drugs, maybe alcohol. Is it a good or a bad thing? To the world, yes, because you say, oh, that's an addiction, but your soul is an intelligence, and your soul says no. No. That's what I got to use at this time in your life to ensure that you make it to the next evolution inside of me. See, life is not trying to kill us. It's the conformity that is trying to kill us. So God has to use the modalities or the conformity to get us where we got to go. See, God will just use life. Stand still and know that I am God. See, this is one thing about me. I know who I am. But the world doesn't like the I am presence. The world is threatened by the I am presence, because the world is conformed to one structure. It doesn't know that life is an intelligence. It doesn't know that it's living inside of an intelligence. Your cells are intelligence, beloveds. Your mind is intelligence, beloveds. See, the world don't think like knowledge. The world thinks like doctrine, which is beliefs. So God wanted me to come on here and express that I am. We don't have a see, when you're being leveraged by the world, you are being leveraged by host. See, the men that God brought into my life, he didn't bring host into my life. He brought mastery. He brought masters into my life. When I started growing, when I started evolving, when God started maturing me in my spiritual journey, in my predestined, ordained ministry that he was ready for me to walk into, he didn't bring host into my life. He brought masters into my life. He brought people who had already mastered that understanding that I needed to get a better understanding on. For me, it's the worldly understanding. The world stunted my growth. In that kingdom, because the world is conformed. It's conformed. It hates. It tells you either you will love one and you will despise the other. And because I am the other, I was despised by the world. So that part of me that's part of my Trinity, that part of me had never matured. So God had to bring in some masters to mature me in those areas. But I'm still the constellation, which is the law. They all work together, beloveds. But see, not in the world. The world only works off of one thing, and that is conformity. And we know that conformity is a spiritual warfare, sickness, sin, and death. It molests everything that it touches. It has a motive. It's never about the soul. It's always about the appearance, that outwardly understanding of what life is. God don't know that part of you. God only knows your heart. Man only knows the appearance. He only knows the doctrinated belief system of what it believes about you. Like the world would have thought, oh, you messing with him or you messing with that other person. But God said, no, these are masters. You need this mastery in your life right now. I can't use you. I can't move you forward without these masters teaching you in that realm that they are masteries at. I have given them. They're my conduits. Not one of those understandings, one of them, because I was still broken. One of them hurt me. The other one did not hurt me. The other one, I'm still looking back on that time and I'm like, thank you. Thank you. I could have never came into my maturity without that pimp. See, he didn't take advantage of me. He could have. He could have. I was this little kid. Very sexy, very mature in my inner kingdom. Very mature. But my outwardly kingdom, I'm stagnated. I don't know the game of the world. I have no understanding of the world. That's not me. That's not who I am. I'm a part of it, and I would have been a part of it if I wasn't despised. Just like you would be a part of the eternal, immortal, and the mortal kingdom if you hadn't despised, loved one, and hated the other. So I love them all. That's why I didn't see any of those men as anything that the world would have asked me or made me believe to see them as. God don't see appearance. God didn't see their appearance. God saw that what their soul could do for my soul at that time of my evolution. So God wanted me to share this with us, because as I was taking a shower right before I came on here and before I got ready and got dressed or anything, or anyways, God was telling me to share this. You don't hold it in. It just kept speaking and kept speaking and kept speaking to me. We need to understand as an intelligence that we are conduits. You are a conduit. And for such a time as this, we have to use life as our leverage. We can no longer use beliefs as our leverage. We cannot no longer use our outwardly appearance as our leverage. We can no longer use our doctrine as our leverage. It's obsolete, beloveds. That is an obsolete program. The soul has risen. The I am presence that each and every one of us is, the intelligence of life, has returned. And we can no longer leverage that outer part of us anymore. It's time to come on in and understand that in order for evolution, see, because thank you, Spirit. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. In order for evolution to take place, whether you guys don't understand that we are going into this new earth. And see, a lot of y'all don't understand that this new earth has nothing to do with the world. Because remember what came last. The world came last, beloveds. Let's get this correct. The world came last. Earth came first. Our mother's womb teaches us this, beloveds. It teaches us this. We don't need a scientist or a biologist. We just need the truth. Our mother's womb teaches us that earth comes first. That means that we can no longer leverage the world because the world did not come first. That's not where we get our power from. That's not where we get our maturity from. That's not where we get our immunity from. We get our immunity from life. So that's what we are going to have to start leveraging, because in this new earth, these obsolete programs and programmers, they're not going to have any authority. And the old things, they are going to pass away. And when they pass away, beloveds, if you haven't got your mastery in all three constellations, you're not going to be able to enter into heaven on earth. It's just not possible, because you can't leverage the world anymore. The conduit for each and every one of us as a soul, and the evolution of our soul, is at its own predestined mark, which means that seed has to mature itself now. It has to. You can't stagnate evolution, beloveds. You cannot stagnate evolution. When it's ready to be uplifted and uprooted, it's going to do that regardless. Have you ever seen the great big national trees? And it's time for them to uproot. God will move heaven on earth to make sure that takes place. Which means that God will remove all the obsolete programs to make sure that takes place. Why? Because life is an intelligence. Not one of us who is asking life to do anything other than life is not going to have to repay what we have asked for. See, life is given freely. But everything in that world, don't you understand that you get charged for it? So if you're getting charged for your own life in the world, what do you think life is going to charge you for when you deny it in its world? It's showing you an eye for an eye, beloveds. It's like showing us. What have you been leveraging? Because life gives freely. But you charging me for it. So now you owe me a debt. A lot of people can't get this because you don't understand that your life is an intelligence. I am. I don't need any understanding but the one in which I am as your Lord and Savior. I came to give you life. So life is asking me to come back on here because we are in our maturity right now. Evolution is in its maturity right now. And it is requiring, you hear me? It is requiring us to understand that we are conduits. I'm not going to leverage anything in that world. I never had to leverage anything in that world to get what I needed and what God wanted for me. It never worked. Being that I was an internal being, the world didn't utilize me. Only God utilized me. The world stole from me. The world tried to kill me. The world tried to destroy me. But we are not. Like a thief in the night, I'm going to come back and take back what is mine. I give that to you. I am. I am. I'm the intelligence, beloveds. I don't require anything from you all but you just to stand still and let me consciously use you as my conduit. I told you I want to go out into that world and move and do things, but God will not allow me to do that. The message that I received when I was in the shower, God said, no, I am. You are not who you believe you are, my beloved. I am. I am. I'm not of that world. I'm not of that world. That world is obsolete. I am its intelligence, and it's time that I help you understand who I am in you. It's time you all understand who I am in you. That program and those programmers are obsolete. That's all it just told me. I wanted to say something else, but it said obsolete. That's all. It didn't want to tell me nothing else, and that's how I'm going to keep it. Obsolete. You can no longer leverage that type of mentality inside of my soul. You can no longer operate in that type of immunity inside of my cells. You can no longer use that conformity as my intelligence, because I am predestined at this time to bring I am into this new immunity inside of who I am. And tears are forming inside of my eyes right now, because I spent all of my life praying for this. All of my life I spent crying and praying. Not to just hear these words, but to know who I am without any doubt, with pure clarity. That don't look like the world. Has nothing to do with the world. And God just asked me to come on here and just share this beautiful testimony as we move into tomorrow. See, a lot of people don't understand what Christmas really represents. It's really a gifting. Tomorrow is a gifting. It's like the constellation returns tomorrow. Tomorrow is a really, really beautiful day if we understand it inside of the constellation and not inside of the conformity or the doctrinated belief of what Christmas really represents outwardly. Because God doesn't honor appearance. God only honors the heart. And if we know our heart is a constellation to Earth, to the evolution of life, Has nothing to do with the world. See, the world is not living. The world will bury the living kingdom, live on longer than its own creator. Come on, beloveds. That program is obsolete. And your own soul is no longer. This is your soul talking to you. This is your I am. This is your intelligence talking to you. I am no longer leveraging that world. I am a conduit. And I'm going to leverage life as it was born, as its own intelligence. And I don't ask you to do anything. I'm not asking you to do anything outside of who I am. One thing about me in my whole life, and that's the tears just water up in the back of my eyes, because this is my soul. This is our soul. Finally feeling free. Finally getting out of the bondage that we trapped it in because of our lustful conformity. And it finally does not have to abide in that host anymore. When you don't understand that the old things, they are going to pass away. See, one thing that you guys don't get is that I am presence included in myself. I'm not excluded. I'm not grander. I'm not greater. I'm not above or below. I am as you are. But you can choose on every given day who you are going to serve. I can't take that from you. I can't deny that from you. I can't kill, steal, and destroy you because of that. But I am can. That's your soul. That's the intelligence. And what it told me to express to I am. Every soul, every being, every life is that I am the conduit. And the only thing that I am guaranteeing from this day forth as this gift back to life. Remember, tomorrow is a gifting. It was when the constellation reborn itself. And tomorrow is going to be a blessed day for many who have done the work. Tomorrow is going to be a blessed wish. Internally. So God asked me to come back on here as I reveal this download onto the soul. The beautiful, beautiful testament in which each and every one of us are in the very image and likeness of the I am, in which every last one of us can drink of, receive, acknowledge, accept, and welcome. Because tomorrow is going to be a beautiful gift, and it may not come from the world. And many of us, we might not get anything from that world. But tomorrow, for those of us who sowed the seed back into life, we are going to be the wish manifested. So Merry Christmas, beloveds. And to all of you guys who have done the work, to all of you guys who have been rejected and black sheeps and casted out and denied and damaged. It wasn't in vain. It was for just such as a time as this that you and your wish would become the truth. Merry Christmas, beloveds.